Well, it's Friday again, and this is our weekly message. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. And we're doing a conversation again, which is where we travel around the country and talk to different people, because I meet so many different interesting people on my travels. And so today I'm delighted to have Tommy Kyaw Tun. Did I say that?
Jordan, but it's okay.
Okay, no, it's not okay. I did really badly on that. Anyway, I'm delighted to be with Tommy today, and Tommy is part of the leadership here at the Chinese Gospel Church in Lucan, and been my first time here. I've been really impressed with the facilities, Tommy. It's quite a setup you guys have got here.
Yeah, I suppose we started out originally with one building, a site of worship in Abbey Street, Middle Abbey Street, right opposite Arnott's. And the church was legally registered in 1992, so we celebrated 30 years about 2 years ago. And then in 2010, thereabouts, we were looking for a place in the suburbs. After a couple of attempts, found this place. It was a stud farm, Esker Stud. Bought it, got planning permission, built it. Took about 11, 12 months.
Wow. And I have to say, having been to the canteen with you after we did a workshop here today, I wish every church had a canteen with food like you guys have. The duck was sublime. It was excellent.
We do like our food a lot.
So, how long have you been involved with the church here?
So I've been a Christian actually in this church around 1998. I came here to study medicine. 1995, became a Christian 2.5 years later. My life changed after that, and I've been involved in this church since. Cell group leader, deacon, elder, preacher.
Right, and I think now you lead the English language service, is that
Yeah,
right?
we have 2 English language services, one in Abbey Street back in city centre, and one here, so I'm leading the one here.
Okay, and I mean that's a big issue, I know, because I've worked with quite a number of churches predominantly from one ethnic group, and the language issue, if you want to maintain the second generation, is always a factor, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, first generation immigrants coming here, whether they're already Christians or finding their faith here, very much will retain their cultural heritage, language, you know, values even sometimes. And then invariably, you know, the children being brought up here, born here, or brought here at a very young age, maybe say under the age of 6 or 10, will grow up in this language here, English and maybe even Irish.
Yeah.
Brings about certain dynamics, challenges. So between generational, you know, values and transcending those things, and of course culturally as well. I mean, in linguistically as well. So parents doing say in Chinese to the kids, and the kids saying, "Hi, yes, well, mom, I'm back in English."
Now, I mean, look, all parents have this thing of kids coming home and some school, and some of the things they say makes your hair stand on end. I mean, but when you've got 2 very different cultures, you know, I mean, it's not the same. There's a much greater cultural distance than a French person going to Germany or something. Yes. For somebody coming from China to Ireland. I mean, it must be tough sometimes for parents.
Yeah, and I think for both of them, I mean, you know, we appreciate the fact that every culture, every ethnic group and so on will have good and, you know, less good values.
Yeah.
Some more akin to biblical truths and some less so. And whether it's first generation, second generation, whether it's Chinese versus English, etc., I think the task of the leadership and the members is to work towards being truthful and faithful to the Bible, as opposed to their own heritage or their own current societal peer group.
Yeah. And you've done some studies as well at IBI, haven't you?
Yes, it took a long time, but I finally got through. They're very gracious to me to keep extending it even during the pandemic. So I looked at exploring what are the healthy factors that might contribute to a healthy pan-generational leadership in an immigrant Chinese heritage church like ours. And so I say that part of the things would be about understanding things like hierarchy, you know, if you want to go back, you can even go back all the way to Confucius and the inherited family values, community values, which are very strong. And of course, that's very biblical in many ways. But some may be less so. How do you honor your parents, and while try to follow Jesus?
Yeah, and not slipping into the ancestor worship and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the church, I mean, from those humble beginnings in Abbey Street, you've got this place out here now, and I think congregations and cell groups meeting all over the place. Yeah.
So we have these 2 predominant locations in Dublin. And then we have, as you know, also congregations in Drogheda, Portlaoise, Carrick-on-Shannon. It's more a cell group at the moment, but yeah, different places. I mean, our church mission is to primarily, but not exclusively, reach out to Chinese with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So not exclusive to anyone else, but with a mandate to predominantly reach out to Chinese or Chinese speaking and so on.
Yeah. So I guess you've always got your eye open for open doors into other communities, yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I think we also recognize that actually churches like ourselves might actually be a bridging, a stepping stone or a bridge between, say, a predominantly local Irish church and other ethnic churches who might be trying to start up. So, for example, we would have had Filipino brothers and sisters using our place or even worshiping with us for a while before they set up their own church and so on, etc. Perhaps a part of it is to do with being able to relate on the fact that everyone's immigrating here and so on and facing those challenges, settling in a place like here.
Yeah. And as you look into the future now, for you personally and the church, what are you most excited about?
I think by God's grace, I mean, we go through different challenges as all churches do, but God has still brought new people here. And actually, in the last, say, 6 months to a year, in the English congregation anyway, there seems to be a few more non-Chinese coming and so on. So whether there's Irish, whether there's of other ethnicities, medical students or international students coming and going, I suppose a lot of Chinese heritage churches and maybe other heritage churches, so Korean, Indian and so on, will ask in the second generation or even third, will they remain predominantly ethnically one, or will they more and more look international, multicultural? I suppose, actually speaking, a Chinese church like ours actually is already multicultural, multilingual between different parts of China.
Well, of
Malaysia,
course,
so on,
because you've got Mandarin, you've got Cantonese, and
northern China, southern China, Malaysia, Singapore. It is actually inherently already multicultural.
Okay.
In that sense.
So even when it's just Chinese, it's still multicultural.
Yeah. But even more so diversified if you include other ethnic groups.
Yeah. Wow, that's really great. And I know you have a lot of cell groups as well.
We do. I think it's one of the backbones or structures that we rely on in terms of being able to pastorally care for the sheep and the members. One cell group leader, or maybe usually often 2 or 3 actually for each cell group, so that they can continue to follow up closely. When you get to the congregation about 500-600 people, etc., you really need that. And you're really dependent on your team of leaders and the plurality of the leadership collectively, both the pastor, elder level, and deacons, and so on, to be able to look after the well-being of the members.
Yeah, and so every so often, I think you get everybody comes together.
Yeah. So usually, typically, say Easter, say for Christmas, we'd like to, but the reality is we have so many other people who are not necessarily Christians, but who will come for the day. Yeah, and therefore it becomes actually quite packed. And then baptism service. This is
a substantial, to fill this place is quite an achievement.
Yeah. It can be quite full.
Yeah.
And then we can obviously, for Christmas, for example, we would actually very often have a semi-banquet dinner here, again, predominantly to try to invite those who are not believing, friends who are not Christians, family members and friends, to come in here, have a meal together, chat to them, maybe share the gospel.
Right. Well, look, I know there's some people probably watching this who this is totally new. Didn't know that this was all taking place here. Others have had contact with you over the years, but I would say thank you on the behalf of the evangelical community in Ireland for the faithful witness that the Chinese Gospel Church has been carrying on for over 30 years now.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for coming to visit us. And I think it's really important for independent churches like ourselves to connect with other churches around the place, to know that we are not alone in trying to witness for Christ in Ireland.
Amen. So glad that Tommy could join me. I'm not going to try to say his second name again.
All right.
But I'm so glad that he has been able to join me. I'm so glad I've been able to come down here and spend a bit of time at the Chinese Gospel Church. And join us next Friday. We'll be having another conversation where we'll get another bit of an insight into what God is doing in and around this beautiful nation of Ireland. So it might be Friday, but Sunday's coming. God bless you.
And God bless.